It was already dark. The clock struck 2 a.m. inside one of the most luxurious mansions in Bangkok. The city below shimmered with distant lights, unaware of the power that watched over it from above. Freen stood in the middle of the mansion's largest balcony. A crisp white shirt clung lightly to her frame, 2 buttons left open at the top. Black pants sat low on her hips. Her sleeves were rolled up to her elbows, revealing strong forearms, muscles built not for show, but for survival. Her hands rested inside her pockets, posture relaxed, dominant. She was a dream in every circle she entered. Wherever Freen Saracha Cheng Kimha went, heads turned. Desire followed. Fear lingered. She carried authority effortlessly, like it was carved into her bones. She sighed softly, lit a cigarette, and took 2 long puffs. Smoke escaped her lips, curling into the night air before disappearing into the dark sky. Footsteps echoed behind her. Freen didn't turn. She didn't flinch. She already knew who it was. A familiar presence stopped a few steps behind her, maintaining a respectful distance. "Hang," she said calmly, her voice low, unreadable. Her cousin, and her most trusted man in the MAFIA world. Hang stood straight, eyes sharp. "We caught their shipment before it reached the port," he reported. "The situation is under control. Everything is fine now." Freen exhaled slowly, smoke drifting from her mouth. "Good," she replied, her tone steady. "No relief, no surprise, just control." She flicked the ash from her cigarette over the balcony railing, watching it disappear into the darkness below. "Make sure there are no loose ends," she added. "I don't like mistakes." Hang nodded. "Already taken care of." Silence settled again, heavy and powerful. The city continued to glow beneath them, unaware that its fate rested in the hands of a woman who ruled both light and shadow without ever raising her voice. It had been 2 days since Becky made the decision to perform. 2 days of nervous thoughts, restless nights, and a heart that wouldn't stay quiet. After a long, exhausting day at the university, Rebecca finally stepped inside her home, a small, modest house, warm and familiar. It wasn't rich, but it wasn't poor either. Just enough. Just home. Becky had lost her parents when she was 12. A car crash. One moment of normal life, and then silence forever. Since then, she had been living with her uncle, her mother's brother. He wasn't a man of many words, but he was kind, patient, and steady in ways that mattered. Her education at Step Up University had never been easy to secure. Being mute made admissions difficult, but Becky had worked harder than anyone, cracking the entrance exam on her own, earning her place with sheer determination. The university covered her education, not out of sympathy, but because she deserved it. As Becky entered the living room, she saw her uncle sitting on the couch, reading a book under the soft yellow light. She gently tapped her shoes against the floor to get his attention. Then she lifted her hands and signed. "Good evening, Uncle." He looked up from his book and smiled warmly. "Good evening, dear," he said. "How was your day?" Becky signed slowly, her shoulders dropping. "Exhausting." Her uncle chuckled softly. "Then go to your room and take some rest, okay?" Becky nodded. She picked up her bag and walked toward her room, her steps quiet, but her heart loud. It was already night. A single lamp glowed on Becky's study table, casting warm light over open books and scattered notes. She sat quietly, trying to focus, reading the same line again and again, yet understanding none of it. Slowly, she sighed. Her shoulders sagged as she leaned forward, resting her head on the open book. Her eyes slipped shut, exhaustion finally winning. And just like that, her mind drifted back to her first year, the freshers' welcome party. She remembered sitting among hundreds of students, nervous and overwhelmed, when the hall suddenly fell silent. All eyes had turned toward the stage, and then she appeared, Freen Saracha Chankimha, walking up to the podium with effortless authority. That sharp presence, those deep brown eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. And that voice, low, calm, slightly raspy, filling the hall as she spoke. Stay focused, Freen had said. Discipline decides your future. Simple words. Yet Becky had felt them settle deep inside her chest. She remembered how her fingers had curled into her dress that night, how she had forgotten to breathe properly, how something inside her had changed without permission. The memory shifted, and the feeling returned. That familiar tightening in her chest. Her heartbeat quickened, thudding loud in the quiet room. It always did. Every time she thought of Freen. Becky opened her eyes slowly, staring at the pages beneath her. But all she could see was a woman who didn't even know she existed. She lifted her head, placing a hand over her heart, as if trying to calm it. This is foolish, she told herself silently. Yet her heart refused to listen, because some loves don't need words. They only need a single glance, and a lifetime of silence. Becky let out a quiet sigh. She reached beside her bed, and gently picked up her guitar, her fingers curling around the familiar wood. It felt safe in her hands, steady, understanding. Music had never asked her to speak. She adjusted the strap, settled it against her body, and placed her fingers on the strings. The first note rang out, soft, hesitant, then another. Slowly, a melody began to form. Becky couldn't speak. Words had never been hers. But through the guitar, her heart felt lighter, less heavy, less trapped. Every strum carried something she could never say aloud. Every note held pieces of her silence. Her eyes fluttered closed as her fingers moved with quiet confidence, the tune gentle and aching, filled with emotions she had buried too deep. Longing, hope, fear, and somewhere within the melody, love. The room filled with music, soft enough not to disturb, yet strong enough to calm her racing heart. For a moment, the world felt kinder, quieter, bearable. Becky played until her breathing slowed, until the ache in her chest softened just a little. Music didn't need a voice. It understood her perfectly. As Becky continued to play, her eyes slowly drifted toward the corner of her study table. A small picture frame stood there. Inside it was Freen. The picture had been taken from a university poster, an important program, a formal event. Freen stood confidently on stage, expression calm and powerful, eyes sharp, posture commanding. Becky had carefully cut it out, smoothing the edges again and again before placing it into the frame. She had never told anyone about it, not even Irene. Her fingers softened on the strings as she looked at the picture, the melody turning gentler, sadder. Her gaze lingered on Freen's face as her heart whispered things her lips never could. I wish I could tell you my feelings. The notes trembled slightly. I know you don't even know that I exist. Her chest tightened, but she kept playing. But I fell in love with you, just like that. No reason, no permission, just one look, and a lifetime of silence. Becky played on, eyes shining under the dim light, music flowing like a confession meant only for the night. The guitar carried every unspoken word, every hidden tear, every impossible hope. Freen remained still inside the frame, unaware that somewhere in the city, a mute girl was loving her with an entire heart she could never hear. And yet, the song kept playing,